Mahatma Gandhi was one of the most influenced people who lived in the 20th century. He lived in India, one of the countries that was part of the British Empire, and this is what he had to say about English. To give millions the knowledge of English is to enslave them. It is worth not noting that by receiving English education, we have enslaved the nation. The medium of a foreign language through which higher education has been imparted in India has caused incalculable intellectual and moral injury to the nation. So as part of the historical examples of the linguistic imperialism, we have to say that there have been, in the past, some of them. In the Roman Empire, the language from century 1 to 4 was the dominant language. The Arabic language was the dominant language in century 8 to 4 in Europe. And the Japanese language from the 18th century to the 20th century dominated Asia. So after World War II, English started the English globalization. So in that case, we have to say something about linguistic imperialism, who was Robert Phillipson, the one who coined it in 1992, who argued that a form of linguistic imperialism, language, is a language domination. And then English is a native language in countries that have English as a native language benefited from a globalized English as lingua franca nowadays. Now, Spolsky in 2004 says that English is nowadays a globally organized form of linguicism. But what's on the other side? What's on the other hand? Countries need to communicate, exchange, and socialize. That's part of the natural dynamics of the world, and countries are always looking for economic growth, technological progress, and quality of life improvement. So what will break the barrier of communication and create bonds of interculturality and economic growth? Well, David Crystal in 2003 says, well, a language in common will do that. So that is very clear for him that was English. So how might English be taught without linguistic imperialism? Well, Morian says in 2001 that English can be taught without the aculturization. How can we do this? Well, there are 5 steps probably, that by decentralizing the English language teaching, by showing the English pluricentricity, that there are lots of centers of English, and also by considering that English has a lot of variations, and teaching those variations has an advantage by providing equivalences of those expressions. And in that, if we could go to the communication as an international level per se, there will be English as an international language, and then English as a lingua franca, as a variation of English as an international language. So English in the global education context, according to Moriano, he would say just that the teaching and learning of a geographically, politically, and culturally neutral form of English is perceived as the language of a wider communication and not as the possession of native speakers, to neutralize the negative impact on the cultural integrity of the learners. Thus, English as an international language is simply a utilitarian communicative tool, one which allows the non-native user to retain, to the greatest degree possible, their distinctive cultural characteristics.